Peter Thiel, who was a student of Sam's father, said in an interview,
I didn't realize that either. Actually, I didn't realize that until right now.
I'm blown away. You know who comes in 8th on the list of donors to Democratic Party? So Soros is number 1. Sam was number 2. You know who's number 8?
Who?
Peter. Wait a minute. Peter was the guy who Trump was so buddy with. You know, on the Friday where we had a collection of us that were ready to fund BlockFi so that they didn't have to take the FTX deal, Peter Thiel's group backed out. No explanation.
Ever since the beginning of the Sam Bankman-Fried, Kevin O'Leary, and Binance fiasco, the well-known fund hedge manager recently spoke up to Blockworks Macro in an interview about the extent of the plot. Yusko offers his thoughts on the ongoing controversy surrounding prominent cryptocurrency exchange Binance and its CEO Changpeng Zhao as well. Yusko concurs that Kevin O'Leary's assertion that Changpeng Zhao is essentially solely to blame for the failure of FTX is utterly absurd. However, he doesn't think Changpeng Zhao and Binance are entirely honest, particularly when it comes to commercial procedures. In his interview, Yusko doubts that BNB's position in CZ's crypto empire and claims that one of the causes of the exchange demise was SBF's over-reliance on his FTT coin. One of the numerous people who has lately made similar observations is Mark Yusko. Similar discoveries were made earlier in the month by well-known on-chain expert Willy Woo in a series of tweets, to which Changpeng Zhao responded in certain cases. In one of his tweets, Wu notes that the BNB, BTC, and BUSD percentages of the Binance Secure Asset Fund for users were 44%, 32%, and 24% respectively. Wu writes in the tweet that he applauds Binance for launching such a fund but claims that BNB has no business being in the fund because of its correlation to occurrences. In a tweet, he asked how he would feel if FTX had an insurance fund that was entirely made up of FTT. To Wu's observations, here is Changpeng Zhao's response. AFU Insurance Fund $1 billion equivalent is roughly split between BTC, BUSD, and BNB. It's just that BNB's price rose faster than BTC since the last rebalance. And Wu counters by asking, what's the reason for putting BNB there given that it is highly incidence correlated in the case Binance has an incident BNB would drop quickly just as BNB rose quickly due to liquidity dynamics. In that regard, BNB in the fund bolsters a vanity metric. For authentication communications, I'd suggest Binance dashboarding Sapphire Fund partitioned by correlated and uncorrelated assets relative to Binance, customer funds being protected, for example, customer assets $60 billion, Safi USD $333 million, BTC $333 million, and BNB $333 million. Moreover, he also mentioned that I think the SAPU-PU initiative is fantastic, hoping it leads other exchanges into similar actions where you have an opportunity to set a high standard for the industry. Wu also questioned why the report did not include the exchange's liabilities after Binance presented its proof of reserves. It says in his tweet, will you be doing an independent audit on liabilities against those reserves? And will other coins be audited also in due time? Whereupon Changpeng Zhao responds, yes, but liabilities are harder. We don't owe any loans to anyone. You can ask around. Although CZ continues to insist that the exchange owes no one and is not required to disclose its liabilities, many individuals are troubled by his imprecise justifications for his claims. Former Kraken CEO Jesse Powell stated in November that the Binance Proof of Reserves report is useless without liabilities. Similar issues are brought up by Yusko in his interview with Blockworks, along with his thoughts on the FTX debacle. Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to leave your thoughts and observations in the comment section below before we listen to Mark Yusko. Thank you and have fun watching the video.
Isn't necessarily the functionality, I'm struggling for the right word here in my English. It's not the methodology is the word I'm thinking of the reserves, which I think you're right. It's lacking. I think for me, the issue is how closely does BNB represent or associate to FTT. As I understand it, and I hope to be proven wrong, but as I understand it, they're kind of the same. They're utility tokens that don't actually give you a share of equity, debt, or a claim on cash flows. And if that's true, okay, then you have the risk, just like with Cell, just like VGX, just like with FTT, that if you use that asset as collateral, it's just a Ponzi. I mean, that literally, because there's nothing behind a trading coin, a meme coin, which is essentially what it is. If there's no, claim on cash flows or ownership, it's not a real asset. And so the question is how much of the BNB is used in the balance sheet of Binance in the same way that FTT was used in FTX? Because that's ultimately what led to the downfall.
Totally. I just want to clarify, though, there's one big difference between BNB and FTT, which is that Binance actually does have Binance Smart Chain, which, whatever you think about it, actually has an enormous amount of utility. And BNB is the native token of Binance Smart Chain in the same way that Ether, the token, is the native token of Ethereum.
If it had a claim on cash flows, then I would feel better. But let's just assume for now that it doesn't. And if it doesn't, and it's simply a trading token like Ethereum, I'm fine with that. Yep. But if he's used it to secure loans the way FTT, I mean, the problem for BlockFi, for example, is not that they did all these things. I mean, a couple things. So Ben Hunt, who you had on the show, is wrong, right? He's referring to the FTX bankruptcy filings, which why the world thinks those are accurate, I don't understand. And FTX claimed that these were unsecured loans. Of course they claim that. They don't want to admit that they were not unsecured loans. They were secured loans. And I can validate that as a factual statement. So the assertion that they're unsecured loans is wrong. The second thing is, when they made the loan, it was actually a small percentage of their total assets. They had $20 billion in assets at the time. And so a $700 million loan isn't that big deal. Now, when assets fell because of the crash and withdrawals, then it becomes a big deal. The real issue was the collateral. All the collateral up until that particular loan had been either stablecoins or Bitcoin. And the question is, and I actually have, this is not public information, so I don't have any insight here, is whether there was originally Bitcoin or stablecoin and that post the merger, Sam or somebody at FTX changed. I just don't know the answer to that. But at the end, on the date of the bankruptcy, it was FTT, which has no value. And that's the problem. And that's what I'm concerned, because I don't worry about BUSD, right? That seems to be pretty well backed. I don't worry about the structure of Binance, because it's, proven over and over and over again to be a pretty good, darn good exchange. What I do worry about is if BNB is being levered and used as collateral. Two, I absolutely believe that was not rogue Kevin. I believe that was an intentional plan. I don't think anything in these congressional hearings is accidental.
What do you think of Willy Woo's tweets and Mark Yusko's interview? Please share your thoughts and views in the section below. Make sure to see our other videos on Binance, FTX, and Kevin O'Leary's absurd accusations against the co-founder of Binance if you enjoyed this video. Thank you for your time.